Hello everyone, I'm Shen Yuan, the founder of Joint Commonwealth Fund, or JCF. JCF is a crypto index fund to make basic income universal. So in today's JCF Weekly, we're going to talk about, Bitcoin has been rising and should I buy some Bitcoin? Now, some of you might know Bitcoin just rise up over 10,000 US dollar per Bitcoin over last weekend. In the past few days, it has kept going. And I just checked CoinMarketCap. Right now it's about 13,000 US dollar per Bitcoin. So many people might be wondering, should I buy some? Should I, is it going to continue? But at the same time, when there is a lot of the expectation and hopes, there's also a great deal of fear. Is this going to last? What if it crashes back? Will I lose my money? Okay. So today we're going to offer some of our perspectives. Now, before I talk about this, let's share a personal story. So I started to do investments in stock market when I was 20 years ago, when I was still in college. And that time I just used, how I think the price might go up and down and to buy some stocks. And of course, that got me losses, I lost money. So I started to think about, how can anyone, or someone like me actually make money from the stock market? So, of course, to answer this, you probably have to find who's already doing successful in stock. And one of the most famous, most well-known is Warren Buffett, right? He's a famous investor that's become one of the richest men through investment in stock market. So I started to learn about Warren Buffett's investment styles, which is called value investment. So essentially, for those of you who may not be familiar, what Warren Buffett or what value investment does is that you first have to determine what's called an intrinsic value of a company or its stock price. So let's say if you determine that it's like 50 US dollar up here, then if the market price is actually lower than its intrinsic value, let's say 30 US dollar, then it will be a good deal if you can buy it now at market price, and just simply wait when it goes up or even above its intrinsic value. Now, Warren Buffett doesn't just, buy when it's lower. He actually requires that there is what's called a margin of safety, which is the difference of the market price and the intrinsic value. And usually the margin of safety has to be over 25%. Okay, so let's say if the share price is, its intrinsic value is $50, then, it has to be at least 75% or less than this before Warren will come in. Now that's a good, interesting concept. So basically, with value investment, even if the price goes down again, for someone like Warren Buffett, he actually doesn't really care or worry, because that means he can buy a good company at even lower price. So what he'll do when he sees something like that is he actually will buy more of that stock. Okay, and most people, if they see the stock price going down, they're fearful and they will sell off. But if Warren has already determined that this is a good, company that has good intrinsic value, then he will just continue to keep buying. Now, how can we apply the same concept to, crypto or to Bitcoin? Now, of course, the important question to ask is, what's the intrinsic value of a Bitcoin? There are many ways to look at this, but the one I like, the simplest I find is Bitcoin is really a form of digital gold. Okay, why am I saying this? Because, they share many same and similar characteristics. For example, the reason why gold has value is because it has limited supply. Okay, and so no governments or individuals, they can just simply make more gold. It doesn't happen. It's relatively limited, and although you can mine it, you cannot just mine it at will. It's not like government can print currency or money at will. So gold has that kind of objectivity as a scarce resource, and it also has it can be a form of store of value. So people do associate and attach certain value to some ounce of gold. Same thing for Bitcoin, except that Bitcoin in many ways is a better gold, or gold 2.0. Why is that? Because let's say you have like a $1 billion worth of gold and you need to store, or you need to send it somewhere, or you need to verify. Yeah, it's all very expensive. You have to have a large storage. If you send it to somewhere, you have to hire security. If you want to verify if the gold is valid or not, you actually have to hire some expert to do the analysis, right? But for something like Bitcoin, to store, transfer, and verify Bitcoin, the validity, it's all relatively very cheap, compared to what's required for gold. So in many ways, it's a better form of gold. And even a while back, I heard this, people are thinking about mining gold off some asteroids that's coming to Earth. There are already companies and people thinking about this. So, the supply of gold, in fact, could in fact be increased due to this new kind of technology or advancements in the mining techniques. On the other hand, Bitcoin doesn't, it's 21 million Bitcoins, that's the maximum. So in many ways, the long-term prospect of Bitcoin can be even better than gold as a form of limited supply, scarce resource. Now, there is about $7.5 trillion or 7.8, depending on different estimates, worth of gold in the world today. So even if Bitcoin just take over just 10% of that, okay, that's 10%. It's not that huge a deal. Each Bitcoin will be worth 34,000 US dollar per Bitcoin. Right now, it's about close to 13,000. So you can see there's still a huge room. If that's the intrinsic value for Bitcoin, there's still room for growth. So from our perspective, if you are really in this in the long term, for the long run, then really the current price of Bitcoin is still relatively cheap, and you can buy and hold that. Now you might ask, but what if, because we know cryptos are very volatile, it can go up and down, right? What if I just, buy when it's going up and then sell up, and then when it goes down, I can buy again? Would that make even more money? Yes, in theory. But in practice or in reality, what that means is that you also have to pay a lot of attention to the market fluctuation. And if you're like me, which is, I do value other things, doing other things like watching the market many hours a day and worry about the ups and downs of the market. So, I just like to be able to know that I can hold on some long-term investments and, sleep soundly at night. That's, what I would prefer to do. So if you're like me, then you probably need to find something that will have intrinsic long-term value and just, hold it. Of course, if you are the trader type, then you have the time, the energy, the attention, the interest to study, investigate, and, develop the sense of how the markets will go up and down. That's fine too, okay? But if you're like me, who just wants to hold on to some long-term assets, then you can buy and just hold on to it and wait for its intrinsic value to realize. Now, but whether you want to buy it at 13,000 or maybe you want to buy it at a lower price later, that's something you have to judge yourself. Okay, so that's basically our perspective. So if you like our program content, please go to our Facebook page to, you can like us or to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also, I encourage you to visit our official website, joincamo@jcf.world, okay, which is we're basically a crypto index fund that hopes to accumulate wealth automatically on one hand and then redistribute the profits so that everyone from within the community can all benefit from the wealth growth. All right, thank you very much. So I'll see you next week. Thanks.